Have you ever seen the advertisements for protein supplements? I'm sure you have. They're filled with enticing promises, aren't they? Slogans that declare this one powder will miraculously restore your muscles, or that preventing age-related frailty is as simple as drinking this one shake a day. These messages are powerful, persuasive, and broadcast everywhere. However, I must tell you a critical truth. The real issue is not, and has never been, a simple matter of whether you consume protein or not. The far more important question is how you are consuming it. If you continue to follow incorrect methods of protein intake, you run the serious risk of cultivating not muscle, but a body filled with chronic fatigue and systemic inflammation. Lately, I've noticed a profound and widespread misunderstanding when it comes to protein. So many well-intentioned people see a segment on a morning talk show or read an article online and immediately begin to copy the advice without any context or plan. They start their day with a chalky protein supplement, force down a dry chicken breast for lunch, and then have another large portion of meat for dinner. They operate under the firm belief that this high-protein regimen is the guaranteed path to health and strength. But the reality I have witnessed in countless cases is the exact opposite. Instead of feeling stronger and more vibrant, they find their bodies becoming heavier and more sluggish with each passing day. They become trapped in a state of persistent exhaustion. This is a particularly urgent warning for those of you who are over the age of 60. Your body's internal environment is vastly different from what it was in your youth. The production of stomach acid, which is essential for breaking down protein, can decrease dramatically. At the same time, the output of crucial digestive enzymes often becomes insufficient. Despite these significant physiological changes, many people are still trying to apply protein consumption advice that was designed for and tested on younger individuals. It's no wonder that this mismatch leads to a host of problems. Why does this happen? The process is not as simple as we've been led to believe. Just because you eat a large amount of protein doesn't mean it all gets absorbed into your body. And just because you eat it whenever you feel like it, doesn't mean your body can automatically process it correctly. In fact, if you consume protein in isolation, without the proper cofactors, it may not be digested at all. In some cases, this can lead to a dangerous situation where harmful toxins and not beneficial nutrients accumulate inside your body. Here is what happens. Protein that is not properly broken down and digested begins to putrefy to rot in your intestines. This process of decay creates a variety of toxic byproducts. These toxins can then pass through the intestinal wall into your bloodstream, circulating throughout your entire body and triggering a serious, widespread inflammatory response. But what is even more alarming is that if this undesirable state of inflammation continues over a long period, it can have the opposite of the intended effect. It can actually cause your muscles to shrink and waste away. Why? Because chronic inflammation activates enzymes in the body that actively break down muscle tissue. When you fall into this vicious cycle, it doesn't matter how much protein you diligently consume. You can drink all the shakes and eat all the steak you want, but your muscles will not grow. Instead, you'll be left with aching joints and a chronic, debilitating fatigue that plagues you for years on end. My name is Dr. Samuel Reed, and I have spent the last 30 years of my career as a nutritional scientist, specializing in nutrient absorption in older adults. In my work, I have had the privilege of meeting and studying countless seniors, and through this extensive experience, I have come to one profound and unshakable conclusion: the benefits of protein have very little to do with the sheer quantity you consume. It makes no difference whether you eat 100 grams or 200 grams a day if that protein cannot be properly absorbed and utilized by your body. In that case, it is utterly useless. Let me share a key finding from my own research. I conducted a detailed, 3-year-long tracking study with a large group of seniors. The results were fascinating. At the end of the 3 years, there was almost no discernible difference in muscle strength between the group that consumed a very high amount of protein and the group that consumed a small amount. But there was a third group. This group consumed a moderate amount of protein, but they did so using the correct methods. The results for this group were nothing short of astonishing. Their muscle strength improved, on average, by more than double, and their self-reported feelings of fatigue were reduced by half. This proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that how you eat protein is infinitely more important than how much. The time of day you eat it, the other foods you combine it with, and the way you cook and prepare it can completely change the outcome, even when using the exact same ingredients. In some cases, these simple adjustments can create a tenfold difference in the absorption rate. The information I am going to share with you in this video is not based on complex, esoteric theories. It is comprised of concrete, practical methods that you can begin implementing as soon as your very next meal, perhaps even tonight. I will tell you exactly which types of protein to eat and when to eat them for optimal results. I will explain what to eat alongside your protein to dramatically increase its absorption efficiency, and I will detail the critical, irreversible mistakes you must avoid. Tell me, are you currently making an active effort to supplement your protein intake? If you are, please type the number 1 in the comments below. If not, please type a 0. I would be very interested to see. And so that you don't miss out on more valuable information like this, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. The knowledge contained in this single discussion has the very real potential to dramatically alter the state of your health for the next 10 years and beyond. The protein paradox, a case study. Just the other day, my own mother-in-law, Helen, sighed and said something that stopped me in my tracks. "You know, lately I feel like I get out of breath just walking up a single step on the porch," she confessed, her voice tinged with frustration. "I just can't do what I used to." She told me that the muscles in her arms and thighs had begun to shrink, her clothes fitting more loosely than before. Her weight on the scale hadn't changed, but she could see and feel her strength visibly declining, and it worried her deeply. As we talked more, I realized the situation was even more serious than I had first imagined. She described waking up in the morning with her legs feeling as heavy as lead. A simple trip to the supermarket would leave her completely exhausted for the rest of the day. Even more concerning, she wasn't feeling refreshed after a full night's sleep. Instead, she was living with a constant state of stiffness and heaviness in her shoulders and neck. When I asked her to detail what she had been eating, I saw that she was, by all conventional standards, being incredibly diligent about her protein intake. For breakfast, she would have a protein supplement, carefully mixed with milk. For lunch, she always included a portion of meat, and for dinner, she never missed her serving of fish or tofu. She had seen a health program on television that stressed the importance of protein, and she had taken the advice to heart, making sure not to miss a single day. And yet, despite this conscientious effort, she was getting weaker with each passing day. She now needed to grip the handrail tightly whenever she used the stairs. When she went grocery shopping, she had to lean on the cart for support, and when she returned home, she would collapse onto the sofa, utterly spent. Doesn't this seem incredibly strange? If you were to simply calculate the grams of protein she was consuming, she was easily getting over 80 grams per day. This amount is significantly higher than the general recommendation for a woman her age. So why, despite this high intake, was she experiencing such a worrying decline? After observing her routines carefully for several days, the problems began to reveal themselves, one by one. I noticed that immediately after every meal, without fail, Helen would drink a very strong, hot cup of coffee. When it came to her protein dishes, they were almost exclusively prepared by either frying in oil or cooking at very high temperatures. As for vegetables, she ate almost none, aside from a small serving of sauerkraut with her meals. She completely avoided nutrient-dense green vegetables like broccoli and spinach. But an even bigger problem was the way she was actually eating her food. In the morning, she would quickly gulp down her protein supplement with some water. At lunch, she would rush through her meal, barely chewing her food. Her entire meal times were often completed in less than 10 minutes. Under these conditions, there was absolutely no way for proper digestion to occur. And indeed, when I asked how her body felt after eating, she confirmed my suspicions. She described her stomach as feeling bloated and heavy, and she was frequently troubled by uncomfortable gas. The picture was now crystal clear. Helen was consuming a large quantity of protein, but her body was not actually using it. In fact, the undigested protein was putrefying in her gut and creating a toxic inflammatory environment. So, we decided to make a complete and fundamental change to her dietary combinations. I designed a new plan for her using simple, easily accessible ingredients: shrimp, lentils, and ground flaxseed. But we paid the utmost attention to every single detail: the cooking methods, the timing of her meals, and the vegetables we paired with her protein. First, we moved her post-meal coffee to at least 1 hour after she finished eating. We replaced all fried dishes with steamed or gently boiled preparations. Most importantly, I insisted that she eat slowly and chew her food thoroughly. This was non-negotiable. She had to chew each mouthful at least 30 times. And she had to include a serving of nutrient-rich green vegetables, like broccoli or spinach, with every protein-based meal. For the ground flaxseed, we established a new morning ritual. She would mix 2 tablespoons into a glass of warm milk and drink it slowly, on an empty stomach, first thing after waking up. Exactly 1 month passed. When I next saw Helen, her face was bright with a smile. "You know," she said, her voice full of a newfound energy, "that breathlessness is so much better now, and the heaviness in my legs when I wake up is almost completely gone." She also told me that she was finally sleeping deeply and soundly through the night, and that her digestion felt infinitely more comfortable. These were not drastic, earth-shattering changes. They were small, simple adjustments, but their effect was undeniable, visible, and profoundly positive. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel or given this video a thumbs up, I encourage you to do so now. My goal is to support you in having a healthy, vibrant, and fulfilling life at every age. The information we are about to cover will provide you with the essential wisdom to completely transform your approach to protein management. You must watch carefully until the end, or you will risk missing the most crucial, actionable strategies. Specifically, if you don't understand how to create the practical plan I will introduce at the end of the video, all of your other efforts and time may be rendered meaningless. A few small, practical changes to your eating habits are all it takes to create a remarkable transformation. Now, let's examine the concrete, practical methods for properly utilizing protein in our daily lives, one by one. The 6 pillars of effective protein utilization. Pillar 1. Supercharge your digestion. Protein doesn't benefit you when you eat it. It benefits you when you absorb it. For its true effects to be realized, it must first be properly digested so it can be assimilated by the body. This is the foundational first step. As we age, our digestive capabilities naturally decline. Compared to our 30s, by the time we reach our 60s, our stomach's secretion of hydrochloric acid can decrease by 40% or more. The production of digestive enzymes also becomes significantly less robust. A major 5-year tracking study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition revealed a startling fact. When seniors in their 60s and 70s consumed the exact same amount of protein as younger adults, their actual absorption rate was only about half. What's even more concerning is the finding that when protein is prepared using incorrect cooking methods, the absorption rate can plummet to a meager 10%. This was precisely the situation with a woman named Margaret Davis, age 72. Every day, she would dutifully eat 2 hard-boiled eggs for breakfast, 100 grams of chicken breast for lunch, and a fillet of salted grilled mackerel for dinner. Yet, she was constantly plagued by a feeling of bloating and poor digestion. She also suffered from frequent burping and uncomfortable intestinal gas. When I looked closely at her methods, the problems were obvious. Her eggs were boiled until they were completely solid and chalky. Her chicken breast was pan-fried in oil until it was as tough as rubber. And her mackerel was cured in salt for a long time, making it excessively salty and dry. No matter how high the quality of the protein, cooking it in this manner makes it incredibly difficult to digest. So, we implemented a radical change in her cooking methods. The eggs were to be soft-boiled, with a jammy yolk. The chicken breast was to be poached or steamed without oil. The mackerel was to be grilled slowly on low heat, with no added salt. Additionally, we introduced a few new habits. 30 minutes before each meal, she was to drink a full glass of warm water, sipping it slowly. We began incorporating ingredients that aid digestion, like ginger and garlic, into her dishes. We also made sure she was eating beneficial fermented foods, like plain yogurt and sauerkraut, alongside her meals. But the most critical change was in how she ate. I instructed her to chew each bite a minimum of 20 times and to extend her meal times to at least 20 minutes. When we eat too quickly, saliva production is reduced, and the pancreas doesn't get the proper signal to release the necessary digestive enzymes. 1 month later, Margaret was overjoyed. "My stomach feels so much lighter," she reported. The burping had significantly decreased, the gas and bloating were gone, and most importantly, she said that eating the same amount of food now left her feeling energized in a way she hadn't experienced in years. Have you ever felt bloated or experienced indigestion after eating a protein-rich meal? If so, the very first place to look is your cooking method. Pillar numeraldos. Achieve amino acid completeness. The true quality of a protein is determined by its combination of various amino acids. For our bodies to efficiently synthesize muscle tissue, all 9 of the essential amino acids, the ones our bodies cannot produce on their own, must be present in the proper ratio and balance. A decade-long landmark study from the American College of Sports Medicine revealed that if even a single one of these essential amino acids is deficient, the efficiency of overall protein synthesis drops by a staggering 70% or more. Deficiencies in the branched-chain amino acids, BCAAs, leucine, isoleucine, and valine, are particularly detrimental, as they can bring muscle recovery and repair to a virtual standstill. This was the exact problem faced by Robert Miller, a 69-year-old man. He was consuming a great deal of protein, but almost all of it came from just 2 sources, beef and pork. By exclusively relying on these animal proteins, he had created a situation where certain amino acids were present in excessive amounts, while others were severely lacking. A detailed blood test confirmed that his amino acid balance was, as I suspected, seriously out of alignment. So, we made a significant change to the composition of his diet. We started by having him cook a mix of lentils and brown rice to eat as his staple grain. We also had him add a small portion of nutrient-dense nuts and seeds, like peanuts and sesame seeds, to his daily intake. Twice a week, he replaced his red meat with fish. And we made a concerted effort to frequently include various legume products, like tofu and bean sprouts, in his meals. The combination of lentils and brown rice was particularly transformative. It's a perfect example of protein combining. Lentils are lacking in the amino acid methionine, which brown rice has in abundance. Conversely, brown rice is low in the amino acid lysine, which lentils are packed with. By eating them together, they create a complete protein profile that is on par with animal protein in its ability to be used by the body. By wisely combining plant-based and animal-based proteins in this way, his amino acid balance improved to a much more ideal state. Within a month, Robert reported that he could feel a noticeable return of strength in his thighs and arms, and that the chronic fatigue that had plagued him for years was significantly reduced. He even mentioned that getting up from a chair felt much easier. Take a look at your current diet. How much plant-based protein does it include? If you are primarily relying on meat, I urge you to consider bringing your diet into a healthier balance. Pillar cancellettotre. Prioritize anti-inflammatory factors. As we age, the level of chronic, low-grade inflammation in our bodies gradually increases. This inflammation is a serious accelerator of muscle loss, a condition known as sarcopenia. When your body is in a state of high inflammation, no matter how much protein you eat, it will be directed away from building muscle and toward breaking it down. A large-scale, 3-year study of over 1,000 individuals conducted by researchers at Johns Hopkins University produced a telling result. The group whose diet was deficient in anti-inflammatory components actually lost muscle mass over the course of the study, even when consuming the same amount of protein as the other groups. In stark contrast, the group whose diet was rich in omega-3 fatty acids, astaxanthin, and vitamins C and E, saw their muscle mass increase by an impressive 20% or more. Eleanor Vance, a 75-year-old woman, was a textbook example of this issue. Her protein intake was more than sufficient, but she was constantly troubled by aching joints and a feeling of puffy, heavy swelling throughout her body. She said that when she woke up in the morning, her fingers and ankles would be stiff, and she would feel a grinding, unpleasant pain in her knees as she walked down the stairs. A detailed blood analysis revealed the culprit. Her inflammatory markers were more than 3 times higher than the normal range. In such a highly inflamed state, her body simply could not build muscle, regardless of her protein intake. We immediately overhauled her diet. For breakfast, we started her on the warm milk with ground flaxseed and sesame seeds. We mandated that whenever she prepared a protein dish, she must pair it with colorful, nutrient-dense vegetables like broccoli, spinach, and carrots. The omega-3 fatty acids from the flaxseed and the various vitamins from the vegetables work synergistically to effectively reduce inflammation. Twice a week, we had her eat seafood rich in the powerful antioxidant astaxanthin such as shrimp or salmon. We also had her eat a handful of nuts every day. Walnuts and almonds in particular are excellent sources of the natural antioxidant vitamin E. When I saw Eleanor 2 months later, she was beaming. "The pain in my joints is so much better," she said, "and that heavy feeling when I wake up is gone." A follow-up blood test confirmed her subjective experience. Her inflammation markers had returned beautifully to the normal range. Have you been feeling frequently swollen, or have your joints been feeling achy and heavy? If so, you should focus on incorporating more of these powerful anti-inflammatory foods into your diet alongside your protein. Pillar #4. Master your timing and combinations. The very same food can have a dramatically different impact on your body depending on when you eat it and what you eat it with. The absorption rate can change by as much as 2 or 3 times based on these factors. Vitamin C is a crucial nutrient that greatly assists in the absorption of protein. On the other hand, compounds called tannins and phytic acid can severely inhibit it. A 6-month study of 500 participants showed that the group who drank coffee immediately after their meals had a protein absorption rate that was a staggering 35% lower than the control group. Conversely, the group that ate their protein along with vegetables rich in vitamin C saw their absorption rate increase by a remarkable 40%. This was the key issue for Frank Carter, age 67. He was diligent about eating protein at every meal, but he had a deeply ingrained habit. Immediately after finishing, he would drink 2 very strong cups of black coffee. The tannins in the coffee were binding with the protein and iron in his meal, preventing them from being properly absorbed. The solution was simple, though it required a change in habit. We had him move his coffee to at least 90 minutes after he finished his meal. In its place, we had him make it a rule to pair his protein dishes with foods extremely rich in vitamin C, such as tomatoes, bell peppers, and broccoli. We also suggested he drink only plain water during his meals, avoiding all other beverages. To be even more specific, we recommended that he squeeze fresh lemon juice over his meat and fish, and to eat them with fragrant herbs like parsley or cilantro. This not only enhances flavor but also significantly boosts iron absorption and aids digestion. 1 month later, Frank reported that his digestion was much more comfortable and that the post-meal drowsiness he used to experience had greatly diminished. Most importantly, he felt a visible improvement in his stamina and no longer felt that afternoon slump he had come to accept as normal. Are you in the habit of drinking coffee or tea immediately after your meals? If so, I strongly suggest you try shifting that habit by just a little bit of time. Pillar #5. Focus on quality and the right quantity. When it comes to protein, more is not better. Too much or too little can both cause problems. This is especially true for older adults who may have declining kidney function, as an excessive protein load can be a serious burden, acting more like a poison than a nutrient. The recommendations from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics suggest that for adults aged 65 and older, an intake of 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight is most appropriate. To find your weight in kilograms, divide your weight in pounds by 2.2. This needs to be adjusted based on individual activity levels and health status. Trying to force in too much protein can place an excessive strain on the kidneys and liver. George Peterson, age 70, fell into this trap. Believing that protein was the ultimate health food, he was consuming over 200 grams per day, more than 3 times the recommended amount for his body weight. But instead of feeling stronger, his fatigue was getting worse each day. He noticed his urine had become unusually dark, and he had even developed edema, or swelling, throughout his body. These were clear signs that his kidneys were under extreme stress. For George, who weighed about 145 pounds, 65 kilograms, the appropriate daily intake was around 70 grams. Our first step was to reduce his intake to this appropriate level. Then, we focused on improving the quality of his protein. We swapped out processed hams and sausages for fresh fish and chicken breast. We replaced artificial protein supplements with whole food sources. Crucially, we had him distribute his protein intake evenly across his 3 daily meals. Our bodies have a limit to how much protein they can effectively process at one time. The optimal amount is around 20 to 25 grams per meal. 2 months later, George reported feeling much lighter. The troubling edema had completely disappeared, and a follow-up blood test showed that his kidney function values had returned to the normal range. Please, take a moment to calculate your own appropriate protein intake. Do you feel you might be getting too much or not enough? An appropriate adjustment may be necessary. Pillar #6. The power of consistency. Proper protein intake is not something you do well for a few days and then forget about. Our muscles are in a constant, dynamic state of breaking down and rebuilding every single day. Only by providing a consistent and stable supply of the necessary building blocks can we maintain them in a healthy state. When you successfully meet all 6 of these important conditions, protein can finally become the powerful, life-giving nutrient it is meant to be, revitalizing your body from its very core. For older adults, the most decisive factors in protein intake are not the foods themselves, but the methods you use, the combinations you create, and the consistent habits you build. Your 5-step practical action plan. The methods I am about to share are not theoretical. They are strategies I have implemented directly with countless seniors in my practice, and I have confirmed their definite and reliable effects time and time again. They are not complicated, and anyone can try them easily and without strain. 1. The morning flax latte. The very first thing I recommend you try is to consume ground flaxseed on an empty stomach in the morning. When you first wake up, your stomach is empty, making it a precious window of time when your body's nutrient absorption rate is at its highest point of the day. After an 8-hour fast overnight, your digestive enzymes are primed and ready for action. The omega-3 fatty acids abundant in ground flaxseed exert a powerful anti-inflammatory effect, which plays a major role in protecting your muscles. A specific compound in flax, alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, effectively aids in muscle recovery and repair while fundamentally reducing joint inflammation. Consuming it with a warm liquid further enhances absorption efficiency and is very gentle on the digestive system. How to do it? Mix 2 heaping tablespoons of ground flaxseed into 4 to 6 ounces of warm milk or unsweetened soy milk and drink it slowly on an empty stomach. The ideal temperature for the liquid is between 140 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit, 60-70 degrees Celsius. If it's too hot, you risk destroying some of the valuable nutrients. Always use ground flaxseed that has been properly stored in the refrigerator, and if it's been open for more than 3 months, it's best to replace it to avoid rancidity. Consistency is key. Pick a time that works for you, whether it's 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., and build a healthy habit. If you find the taste a bit unusual at first, adding a dash of cinnamon or a tiny bit of natural honey can make it much more palatable. Make lentils and brown rice your go-to grain. My second strong recommendation is to firmly establish the habit of eating a combination of lentils and brown rice. Among plant-based proteins, lentils are a superstar, boasting a particularly high content of essential amino acids. A 100-gram serving contains an impressive 24 grams of protein and is also very easy to digest. When you consume lentils together with brown rice, an incredible synergistic effect occurs. As I mentioned before, they perfectly complement each other's amino acid profiles, allowing you to efficiently consume a complete protein that is fully comparable to animal protein. How to do it? Combine brown rice and lentils in a 1-to-1 ratio. Soak the mixture for at least 2 hours. Then cook it as you would normally cook rice. If you are new to this, you can start with a gentler ratio, like 70% rice to 30% lentils, and gradually increase the proportion as you get accustomed to it. If you've been eating white rice for many years, start by mixing brown rice and white rice half and half to make the transition easier. 3. The shrimp and broccoli power meal. My third recommendation is to make a simple shrimp and broccoli dish a regular part of your routine, 2 to 3 times per week. Shrimp is a high-quality protein source that is very high in protein content and remarkably low in fat, making it excellent for digestion. A 100-gram serving contains about 20 grams of protein but only about 100 calories. Broccoli is a true powerhouse of vitamin C, with a single 100-gram serving containing 150% of the daily recommended amount. This abundant vitamin C dramatically helps with the absorption of the protein from the shrimp. Furthermore, when the precious astaxanthin found in shrimp meets the sulforaphane found in broccoli, you get an extremely powerful antioxidant effect. How to do it? The preparation is simple. If using dried or frozen shrimp, soak them in lukewarm water for about 10 minutes. Sauté them with broccoli florets in a pan with a tablespoon of olive oil over low heat for just 3 to 4 minutes. Keep salt to a minimum for your health, and add a small amount of minced garlic or ginger to eliminate any fishy taste and further aid digestion. 4. The 1-hour coffee rule. The fourth practice I urge you to adopt is to drink your coffee 1 hour after your meal. A great many people have a lifelong habit of drinking coffee immediately after eating, but this is a major obstacle to protein absorption. The tannins in coffee and tea bind tightly with protein and iron, severely impeding their absorption. If you drink coffee within 30 minutes of finishing a meal, you can reduce the absorption rate of that precious protein by as much as 30 to 40%. How to do it? After you finish a protein-containing meal, wait a minimum of 1 hour, and preferably 90 minutes before enjoying your coffee. During that waiting period, sip on lukewarm barley tea or warm water. It's also best to stick to plain water during the meal itself, avoiding other beverages as much as possible. 5. Create your weekly protein plan. The final, and perhaps most important, step is to create a weekly protein implementation chart. Proper protein intake is not something you can just do well for a day or two. Our muscles are in a constant state of flux, and only a consistent, stable supply of materials can keep them healthy. The reason for creating a plan is to approach this with intentionality and consistency. If we just improvise day by day, we might be diligent for a few days, but as soon as we get busy or feel it's a hassle, we will inevitably let it slide. Planning in advance makes grocery shopping more efficient and dramatically increases your success rate. How to do it? It can be very simple. For example, Monday, morning flax latte, lunch, lentil, rice bowl. Wednesday, dinner, shrimp, broccoli sauté. Friday, morning, perilla porridge divided by lunch, soft, boiled eggs. On the weekends, when you might have more time, you can plan for grilled fish or a steamed chicken dish. Just write it down on a piece of paper and stick it to your refrigerator, or keep a simple note on your smartphone. Creating a checklist and marking off your accomplishments provides a sense of achievement and boosts your motivation to continue. Your new beginning. If you diligently apply just these 5 practical methods, I am confident that you will feel a clear and definite change in your body within 1 month. Today, we have completely dismantled the long-held misunderstandings about protein intake. Many people believe that when it comes to protein, more is unconditionally better. But this mistaken approach does not build muscle. It only increases indigestion, fatigue, and chronic inflammation. In contrast, when you properly manage digestion, amino acid combinations, anti-inflammatory factors, timing, quantity, and consistency, protein becomes the powerful, life-giving nutrient it is meant to be. With the same food, you can increase your absorption rate by 5 times or more and see your muscle strength improve several times over. Let me reiterate the single most important point. It is not the protein itself, but how you consume it, that matters most. Cook it gently by steaming or boiling. Combine animal and plant sources to complete the amino acid profile. Pair it with omega-3 seconds and antioxidant-rich vitamins to reduce inflammation. Please, start tonight with your very next meal. Choose something simple, like the shrimp dish or the lentil rice. Start tomorrow morning by slowly drinking a warm flaxseed and milk mixture, and move your post-meal coffee to 1 hour later. Most importantly, be consistent. Don't aim for perfection. Try practicing for 3 days. Take a day to review. Then practice for another 3 days. Build the habit slowly. Just try it properly for 1 month. I promise you will feel the difference. You will wake up with lighter legs. You will climb stairs with less breathlessness. You will feel vibrant and full of energy in the afternoon. In my next video, I will discuss exercise methods and sleep management strategies that can double your protein absorption. When you practice these alongside the dietary habits we discussed today, you will see even more certain and rapid results. Please, in the comments below, tell me about your current protein habits and share your resolve to start practicing these new methods today. I wish you a healthy and wonderful day. Subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, and I will be sure to see you in the next one. I will always do my best to provide information that can help you and your loved ones.